It looks like we are live.
Hello.
Hi, guys. Hello, everybody. Yes. Yay. 11 of you are on and growing. To the right, you will see a chat box. Please shout us out. Say hello. Say where you're calling in from, and your name, so we know who you are, so we could say hi right back at you. My name is Michelle Goldblum,
and I'm Allie Liepzig.
And I'm Carissa Reiniger.
And we are the co-founders of TAP, the Action Plan. And welcome to 2018, the year you win. Woo!
Yay!
So we're going to start, for all of you guys who don't know anything about us, anything about TAP, we'll start with a little bit of an introduction. So I can start from our end.
Yeah.
So Allie and myself, we started a company called Soul Camp, which is wellness, mind, body, spirit, sleepaway camps for adults around the country. And they're incredible. We bring together, incredible instructors, teachers, speakers, authors, along with hundreds and hundreds of campers. If we have any of our soul campers on here, say hello, shout us out. We love you guys. But what we found was that people come to Soul Camp and they had these incredible experiences, waking up to who they really were, waking up to what their purpose on this planet was, waking up to who they wanted to be, having these incredible awakenings about that. And then they would leave camp and were unable to follow through for whatever reason. So they made these declarations at camp of like, okay, I'm going to eat like this moving forward, or, oh my gosh, I started a morning practice at camp. I'm going to continue on after I leave camp. But then they would leave camp and that would fall to the wayside.
Yeah, and actually Peter is on here. So hi, Peter. He is actually an example of someone who left camp with the inspiration to make a change, and he did. I think, Peter, if you want to say in the chat, and hopefully it's okay, we're using as an example, lost like 50 pounds, something crazy.
I think even more. Peter, you lost like 80 pounds.
I don't want to overshoot it, so let us know. But I'm so curious, Peter, if you can chime in as we talk about the ways to actually achieve your goals and make this year the year that you win. If you can say like, yes, I did that. That's what happened. Because, we need both that inspiration and also the follow through to actually make goals happen.
Great. And so my name is Carissa Reiniger, and I'm the founder and CEO of Silver Lining. And I see lots of Slapsters and people from Silver Lining Network as well. It's a fun meeting of our worlds. And Silver Lining has been working with small business owners for well over 12 years, helping small business owners use the principles of behavior change science to build growth plans for their small businesses, and then benefit from the training, structure, accountability, support, everything that we put together to really help a small business owner set goals and actually hit them. And for all of the years that we've been doing what we do, which has been many, we've had so many people say, oh, I really need what you do for my life. Our program is called a slap, and they always will say, I need a slap for my life. I need to slap my life, not just my business. And so I've always thought to myself, what would it look like to create a really robust program? Because, the philosophy that we all have, and this goes to the theme of this webinar, so often resolutions don't work because they're a big idea, they're a big wish, but we don't have the structure and the training and the resources and everything that behavior change science says that we need in order to create lasting change and to actually create new habits. And so I've always been passionate. I've seen so many programs out there in the world, promising that if you create a vision board, your life will change, or if you just have a coach that you talk to once a month, your life will change, or if you just read these books, your life will change. And all of those things are great. It's not that any of those things are wrong or are bad, but science says they're incomplete. That if we want to create lasting change, we need so much structure and support around us. And so when we started talking about what it would look like to merge the magic of Soul Camp, the amazing dedication to wellness and vulnerability and fun and people living their wildest dreams and everything that Soul Camp is, which is so fun and amazing. If you haven't been, you must go. And then you kind of married it with Silver Lining and our, over a decade of studying behavior change science and building technology and building systems and processes to, really do accountability and structure and support in a way that's affordable. And we started really looking at bringing it together we got really excited. And the bottom line, the punchline is that we created TAP. But more than that, we really realized that we have, a shared set of knowledge and also passion around how we can help people actually create the lives of their dreams, and how we can help you not just set resolutions, but as Michelle wrote so brilliantly, stop collecting books and start actually collecting wins. And so that's what this webinar about. This webinar is about starting a conversation, getting into a dialogue at the beginning of the year when all of us are thinking about our next resolutions, and really sharing, from our own personal perspectives, but also from, a science perspective, why resolutions don't work and the structure that you really need to support your goals. And so that's what we're going to talk about together.
Yeah. I actually, Carissa, when I heard you speak at an event like 2 years ago, and it really changed my life. And one of the principles that you shared has been now a guiding force with TAP, but I think it's become a guiding force in my life. And I know it is yours too. It's pray and move your feet, right? And what we were talking about with the combination of the inspiration of Soul Camp and the fun and the dedication to living your best life, and then with SLAP of actually accomplishing the goals that you say you're going to, bringing those two things together is really important. And for me, just personally in my own life, again, like using Peter as an example, someone who like really accomplished the goal of losing 40 pounds, which is so amazing. For me, like I always struggled with my relationship with food, and I went back and forth with, getting coaches and then being like, no, I got this. Like, I know the best way to do it. And then, writing these big, long to-do lists of like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to take care of myself in this way. And I remember like writing like, okay, you're going to meditate 3 times a day and you're going to drink 6 glasses of water, and like all of the things that I wanted to do. And then I would write those lists, and then like eventually, like actually probably like 2 days after that would be like, oh, I didn't do it. And then would use that as a tool to beat myself up. And the pray and move your feet has been so amazing for me as a core. And we want to share this philosophy with you guys to come back to, right? So when we say pray and move your feet, what that means really is praying. So that's visualizing whatever relationship you have with something greater than you. So that could just mean like, I love nature, and like prayer to you is like going to the ocean and like watching the waves crash down. But for me, I'm so used to sitting in prayer and being with the things that make me feel good that I was getting stuck and not creating the life that I wanted, because I actually had so much resistance to not being in that prayer mode and being in the action mode. And I know there's going to be some of you on here that really relate to that, and some of you that might relate to Michelle and Carissa, who are more action oriented and their muscle has been to build the prayer part, right? Yes. So maybe you guys want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, and this is such just a great segue and interlude into why New Year's resolutions don't work, right? Because this is like one of the big reasons why New Year's resolutions don't work. We so often create these huge declarations of the people that we're going to become or the things that we're going to do. And we make these decisions, and then we have all of these actions. We immediately get into action. So I'm going to, I'm part of a fitness program. It's like these fitness rooms right now are packed. I'm going to join a fitness program. I'm going to join a gym. I'm going to start eating healthy. I'm going to make food now. I'm going to make my own breakfast every morning. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to start journaling every morning. I'm going to have a meditation practice. We have all of these things that we immediately start to do, right? We get into action right around New Year's. And what we don't do, and I'll speak for myself, what I haven't done for so many years is have that intentional piece that comes first. So why do I want to become someone who has a meditation practice? Why do I want to become someone who goes to the gym, 3 times a week? What is the bigger reason why? Why do I want to form these habits? Why do I want to form these goals? And then create actions that are aligned with that bigger why. So that goes back to the pray and move your feet conversation. So many of us just immediately get into action. And we've seen this time and time again, that getting into action and doing all of these things without a full intention set, without a full support system, without a community cheering you on and holding you accountable behind you, without some sort of a coach or a trainer or someone who, can really help you follow through with these goals, without someone keeping you accountable, you're off floundering doing it by yourself without a whole system behind you. So the system is so important, as is both components of the prayer and the moving of your feet.
And just to become aware of yourself, like the biggest part of, I think, making this the year that you win is knowing yourself. So for you guys listening, like, do you lean towards the prayer aspect or action? Like, are you someone that likes to visualize and sit in meditation and ask for advice? Is that where you tend to lean towards, or are you someone who tends towards action? Just like type in the chat so we can know, and so you can see which side that you're not alone in that.
Yeah, and so we're going to screen share. I feel like I ironically own a tech company and I don't know how to do what I'm about to do. So I'll let Michelle and Allie help us get some visuals up. But as we do that, one of the things that I would just really encourage you to do is to, actually use that chat. I would love for each of you guys to actually, name what it is that is true for you. Ask questions if you have them, but to really engage with us in the webinar. We'd love to actually be in conversation with all of you. So I just want to really open that up. If you have questions or comments or thoughts, or you want to input your own experiences, we would love to hear that. So as we open up that conversation, we just want to start with some of the basics of, how we built this program, but more importantly, what this means for you guys, and whether or not you tap or you just want to take this as inspiration and guidance for how you would create your own growth plan this year. We want to give you some key principles to just kind of guide your time this year so that you can win, as we keep saying. So why do we fail at hitting our goals? That's a really good place to start when we talk about why resolutions don't work. And we call this the cycle of stuck. And I'm sure that all of us, every single one of us, can relate to this in some way or another. So often when we talk to people about creating change, right? I want to change something. The belief systems or the excuses that start to surface are, number one, well, I need to be happy to create change, right? If I was happy, then I'd be able to create the change that I want. But then if you talk long enough, they kind of circle back, and then the next thing you hear is, well, I need some things to change so that I can be more happy. If things were different, if my job was different, if my partner was different, if something was different, then I'd be happier. And we call this kind of loop that we go around, right? If I was happier, I'd make the changes. If the changes would happen, I'd be happier. If we kind of like live in this cycle of stuck. And what happens, the symptoms of that cycle, right? What that looks like on kind of a practical basis is that we end up in one of two unhealthy states. The first is what we call planning paralysis. Planning paralysis is when you are constantly, searching for the right thing to do. So you're going to guides and gurus and psychologists and psychics and conferences and seminars and reading books and building vision boards and doing everything that you can possibly think of in your effort to get the best answer, right? The solution that's going to change everything all at once for you. And so in living in this planning paralysis, you're actually spending lots of time and money and energy, but you're not actually moving. You're not getting to an end result. And then the other version of that is action frenzy. And in action frenzy, what that looks like is you're doing everything. You are reading the books. You're going to the things. You're doing this. You're doing that. You're trying everything. I mean, you are going for it. But you're doing it in such a scattered and unorganized way. And you're doing it in a way that's actually creating overwhelm and not leaving the space for you to actually see what's working and what's not and see your progress. And ironically, many of us actually live in, both of these at the same time, or we swing back and forth. I certainly tend toward action frenzy. That's my go-to when I'm in my cycles of stuck. But I've certainly been in many moments of planning paralysis. And so it's not like it's one or the other. Oftentimes, as we spin in being stuck, we can jump between them. We can be both at the same time, which seems impossible, but it's actually true. And it's in this cycle where we burn out, where we start to believe that change is impossible, where we start to have these belief systems like, I've tried everything and nothing works. I'm just stuck with my life the way it is. All of these belief systems of burnout, of victimhood, of giving up, that happens when we live here. And this is why we fail at changing our goals, is that we don't get good at getting out of the cycle of stuck and out of planning paralysis and action frenzy and getting into what is the right thing, which is smart, organized, aligned action. Would you guys want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I would just add, I think just another way to phrase this cycle of stuck is just like, I had a mentor, I think it was Gabrielle Bernstein, who said like the when I haves, like we get stuck in like when I have that job, when I have that relationship, when I lose the weight. And then I think it even applies to like when I'm happy, when I'm grounded, when I'm feeling calm, then I'll have the thing, right? And it's just actually what that does is just place the action that you actually want to be taking to get to the goal in the future. Like when I do that, and that keeps us stuck, obviously.
Exactly.
We're not yet in the present moment.
And it's interesting, but the when I haves ultimately turn into why I didn't.
Yeah.
Right. So it really is that same, it's the flip of the coin of like, when I have this, when I have this, when I have this, and then a year goes by, and then 2 years goes by, and then 10 years have gone by, and well, why I didn't do that. So
and we're all sharing, just so you guys know, we didn't get to like share our stories because we have a lot that we want to share with you guys, but we're sharing from the place of like, we are saying this because we ourselves experienced this, and like we've had to move through those periods of stuckness and times where we're like feel like nothing's working and we can't get our shit together and it feels like our world's falling apart. That's how we're coming from, that place. So we just, if you're there and you're feeling like, okay, these people are explaining this, like we get it. We don't live in this place of perfection at all. We are human too, and working the same process.
Yeah, and one of the big philosophies that I think is true when we think about why resolutions don't work is that from a psychology point of view, and also just from the work we've done with small businesses for all of these years, one of the most fascinating parts about humans that I have learned is that, and I fall into this 100%, on the one hand, we are so hard on ourselves. We have guilt and shame coming out of our ears. We, hold ourselves on the hook forever for mistakes that we've made. We have these belief systems that are so hard on ourselves. And that's on the one hand. And then yet on the other hand, we let ourselves off the hook. We don't hold ourselves accountable to getting unstuck, to doing the action that will move us in the right direction. And so, it's almost like, feels like torture. And again, I'm speaking from very personal experience on this. There's, this state of torture of both living in our shame and guilt for not doing the right thing, and then letting ourselves off the hook and creating excuses for not doing the right thing. And so, that's what we want to help prevent. We want to help you guys and ourselves, that we're building this for us too. We want to, create a conversation and really normalize being stuck, and normalize planning paralysis, and normalize action frenzy, and stop feeling the shame and the guilt when things go wrong, and own it. Yes, things go wrong. Yes, we're going to fail. Yes, we're going to not do what we thought we wanted to do. Okay, fine. But how do we get better? How do we learn the skill of setting goals and actually hitting them? What would that take? And that's what we're really passionate about.
Totally. And April, we saw your comment about assuming we understand some of this already, which is amazing that you do. Amazing. There's probably some people on here that need to hear this. And also just, it's really great to become aware of the patterns, right? So in order to jump into like, okay, how do we fix this, or how do we change this? We need to know what's not working now. So that's an important part of this process.
And we created this program, which is TAP, but this really, if you do a TAP, if you don't a TAP, across the board, this is what we recommend you do regardless. So whether it be TAP, whether it be another program, what we believe is that to create lasting change, to really make resolutions, create declarations, make intentions, and then stick to them, actually hit these goals this year. These are the different things that we think that you need to have.
Yeah. So when we built TAP, going into what do you need to do, right? If you want to set resolutions and you want to actually accomplish them, if you want to set goals and really hit them, how do you do it? Here's how you do it. So we can answer that question. So first of all, when I started Silver Lining in 2005, I really went down the road of building a business program because I thought that's what small business owners needed. They needed a business program. And what I realized is that business owners have all the right information, just like us as humans have access to so much information, arguably too much, that actually the issue is not access to the right information. The issue is that we're overwhelmed. And so what I started to realize is that people don't need help with getting more information. What they need help with is actually shifting their behavior so they can apply the information that they have. And so I became really passionate about behavior change, and essentially been studying behavior change for well over a decade, and really believe that the way to lasting change is to stop thinking about quick results or goals or resolutions, and instead to really think about developing habits that result in long-term growth. So one of the things that you have to do, in my opinion, to actually set resolutions and hit them is to stop thinking about change as being fast, and instead to think about sustainability instead of shifts, right? And to really be passionate about and equipped to develop habits that result in long-term growth. That's the first thing. And that takes a lot of work. I just want to say that. So we're going to come back and talk about, the reality of what it takes to create change. The next thing is, I really think, and science proves this, that we need action plans, not just inspiration. And listen, there's a beautiful place for inspiration. We need to be pumped up and inspired and motivated, and that's fuel that drives us. But at the end of the day, if we're living on just the gas, the fuel of inspiration, right? We're living on fumes all the time. And so the idea is that you need an actual, very clear plan around, how you're going to get from where you are to where you want to be, as opposed to a big planning session on January 1st and then nothing else, which is what so many of us do. Then the other thing is you really need ongoing training on how to create lasting change. This webinar and this conversation is an example of that. But, behavior change is a skill. Changing your habits is a skill. I mean, there's so many books that have come out into kind of pop culture recently about it, because everyone's realizing that we need to learn how to change our behavior. That's part of being successful. And so, we just need to all recognize that this is actually something that we can learn. But again, you don't learn this in, a 45-minute online event. This is a lifestyle change that takes a lot of learning, and it's almost like learning a new language. And last, what I strongly believe is required. This is like not optional, but required to create lasting change and to actually set goals and hit them, is a full support structure to get results. And, so often I feel like we try to Band-Aid, right? Which is what is a gaping water hole, right? We're trying to put a workshop or a 2-week boot camp or a weekend conference or a vision board session, right, over top of what's actually required, which is deep and integrated structure, accountability, support, resources, wrapped around us. And so I'm someone that, in all of my personality profiles, I'm a lone ranger. I go towards doing it myself. That feels easier to me in my head. I feel like I can't trust people. I feel like it's better if I do it myself. And what I've learned is that when I do that, I fail. And when I wrap myself with deep structure, I win. And so I have so many therapists and so many coaches and so many advisors and so many things that essentially hold me accountable to the ongoing change that I want to create, because I know that when I'm left to my own devices, I don't do it. And that doesn't make me a bad person. It makes me a human. All of us need structure and support in order to succeed.
Yeah. And you can't do this alone. I'm just going to stop share for a second. You can't do this alone, right? Like we have found, especially, we have found, especially, at Soul Camp and with Soul Camp, when people make change surrounded by a whole community that sees who they are becoming, who believes them when they make declarations, who follow up with them and say, hey, you said that you were going to go to the early morning yoga class tomorrow morning. You weren't there. What's up? Let's definitely go tomorrow. To have a whole team by your side that is not letting you fail is imperative and is not the only component. So a community is super important, and I cannot imagine setting goals and hitting them by myself. I never have been able to. And all of the most amazing behavior change programs, be it Alcoholics Anonymous programs or Weight Watchers or TAP, everything has a community component. So that's super important. But being able to be held accountable, being able to be tracked. So it's not just setting these goals and putting it in your journal, but it's actually having goals that you are turning over to other people, that you are being held accountable to, not just by yourself, but by other people who are checking in on you and saying, hey, Allie, you said that you were going to do this. I saw that you didn't. What's up? What's going on? How can I help? It is all of these different pieces come together to make the puzzle that creates lasting change. So I love that you said this is not a quick fix. I am all about quick fixes. I live my life looking for the next quick fix. But it's true. Anytime I've ever wanted to make lasting change, it takes a freaking while. I mean, I'm 8 months pregnant right now. And like creating a baby. It's like such a great metaphor for me, because it's like if I wanted this baby out quick and like done and all right, this pregnancy over, the baby would not survive. It would not be healthy.
It wouldn't be fully grown.
Yeah. And I mean, what's so amazing about that and thinking of that metaphor, it's like the great news is, guys, like you can create change. Like you are creating a baby right now. You can accomplish what you want to do. It's just going to take some work and dedication, but it's completely possible, which is like amazing just to know, right? Like wherever you're at, like know that you can change. Yeah. So we're going to walk you through the stages of behavior change,
which is so amazing and important. So.
Right. And it's perfectly positioned for where the conversation is. So, yeah. So going back into, the solution to this, right? Practically speaking, how do you set goals and hit them? So the science is pretty straightforward. First of all, Prochaska is one of, a behavior change psychologist. Prochaska. Who, is well regarded as one of the people who has a lot to say about behavior change. And one of the things that I love about his stages of change, which are just so simple, is that I really read these as a call to action. At being in the business that I've been in at Silver Lining for as long as I have, the number of people who call us and say, I'm ready to grow my business. I'm ready to make change. Sign me up, hold me accountable. I'm going to do the work. Mm-hmm. And then the percentage of those people who don't do the work is kind of blows my mind, to be honest. I'm confused by it all the time. But what we've started to actually do is that we don't sell our program to anyone. We actually vet people. And the vetting process is really about these stages of change. Really figuring out, is someone in a stage of pre-contemplation where they don't even recognize they have a problem? Are they in a stage of contemplation where they're sort of recognizing a need for behavior change and they're contemplating the pros and cons of that change, but they're not ready to pull the trigger? Are they in preparation? Are they experimenting with small pieces of behavior change, but not really, ready to get into it? Are they in action? Are they ready to make definitive changes? Are they in maintenance, right? Are we maintaining new behavior over time? And this is the part that I think is interesting. Relapse, right? A full or partial return to previous behaviors, often accompanied by negative feelings. That's that cycle of stuck. Prochaska is naming it as a stage of change. It's just expected. Of course we're going to relapse. And then we got to, get back into things and go again. And so, it'd be interesting if you guys would be brave enough to actually name what stage of change you think you are at right now. Because one of the things that I have learned after blood, sweat, tears, and all of these years of building my business is I cannot change you. I cannot grow your business. I cannot hit your New Year's resolution goals. I can't. I just can't. You can, but you need, to be ready. You need to be ready to take action. You need to then have the pillars of behavior change around you. So the challenge that I would issue to every single one of you is, number one, can you name yourself in these stages of change? Where are you? And if you're in preparation or action or maintenance, or maybe relapse, maybe you feel what it's like to be in flow and you want to get back there, right? I think I'm in relapse right now in a lot of my major goals, to be honest. If you can find yourself in these stages of change and you're really ready, right? You're really ready to commit to change. Then the second thing you need to know is that what almost everyone in behavior change science agrees on are these basic pillars of behavior change. That if you want to create change, you need all of these things, not one or two of them, but all of them. And as I describe them, what I think you're going to discover is that so many of the resources out there that are available to you that potentially you're even using, it's not that any of them are wrong, and it's not that any of them are bad, but 99% of them are incomplete. They don't have all of the structure that you need. And so what ends up happening is you invest a lot of time and money to get structure and support because you've bought into it. You know you need structure and support. You're trying, you're signing up, you're doing things. But because it's not connected in the way that something like Weight Watchers is or Alcoholics Anonymous is, because it's not a robust behavior change program, it's like you're piecemealing the solution and then it doesn't work. So what you need to create change, you have to be committed. right? That's number one. You have to set modest goals. The word modest is fascinating to me because it essentially is saying if you set super crazy goals, you're not going to hit them, and then you're not going to create your change. And so modest goals, even that we could talk about forever, right? What does it mean to set a modest goal? Then we have to rigorously track behavior. This is one I think we miss so often, right? How often have you set a New Year's resolution in January, forgot about it by March, freaked out in November that you didn't hit your goals, right? Gone on a retreat in December to get back to yourself, set a new goal in January, and then gone on repeat. And so this rigorously tracking behavior, this is daily, right? Think about Weight Watchers, tracking every single thing you eat,
and
right?
Fitbit with steps, like little steps goals like that. I see people pacing around the room just so they can hit
right. My husband.
Right.
Really?
Yeah, but it's beautifully effective. I mean, those are examples of behavior change gone right?
Yeah.
The rigorously tracking of behavior. That's what it takes. Building self-efficacy, building the belief that you can do this, right? Building like the knowledge. I always think of this like learning a new language, right? Like actually getting to the point where you actually know it, you get it, it's becoming second nature. Obtaining counseling or coaching. You need counseling or coaching. We all do. But if you're doing just counseling or coaching without the rest of this, it's probably incomplete. Turning to fellow participants for support, right? Community, this is what Michelle was talking about. Again, you need it. But if that's all you have, it's incomplete. And then ultimately, all this needs to result in actually instilling new habits. Not just, my company is called Silver Lining. And what I always jokingly say is, I cannot give you a silver bullet, but I can give you a silver lining. Change doesn't happen overnight. Change takes time. Change takes this much support. But the silver lining, right, in the world is that it's possible. You can have anything you want if you are committed. You have goals. You're tracking your behavior. You're building self-efficacy. You've got outside coaching or counseling. You've got a community, and you're instilling new habits. So the if isn't a scary if. The if is back to that challenge of, what stage of change are you at? Are you ready to take action? Because if you're ready to take action and you wrap yourself with pillars of behavior change, anything is possible. That's the really exciting part. Anything you can dream of is possible.
Yeah. Carissa, I'd be curious what you think about this, but at Tony Robbins, if you're like in preparation and contemplation mode, he gets you into action by like really helping you imagine the future if you didn't do that goal, right? So it's like, imagine yourself 40 years down the line and like you still haven't lost that weight, you still haven't fell in love, you still haven't healed your relationship with your mom, and like what does that feel like, what does that look like, and like seeing the end result of not getting into action has that initial push. And I'm curious in terms of behavior change, like what that does, but can that move you into the next stage of behavior change?
Yeah, I think so. It's interesting. When we talk to people who I think are more in pre-contemplation or contemplation, our recommendation is often like, go talk to a therapist first. And once you've done a little bit of therapy, then come back into our program. So yeah, it is something about, right, like uncovering what are the blocks that are in the way. And one of the big blocks, one of the biggest things we see of people in pre-contemplation, if you're listening and you're in pre-contemplation, you probably don't even recognize you are. That's one of the problems with being in pre-contemplation. But it's what I would call, ego, and not in a rude way, but, so often our ego gets in the way where it feels uncomfortable to admit we need to make change, or it feels vulnerable to ask for help. And so, Michelle and Ali talk so much about this, but one of the ways that I would think about all of this for yourself is, where are you? And if you're not really in like that preparation or action phase, is it fear holding you back? Is it ego holding you back? Is it a block that you need someone else to help you uncover? Is it simply that you haven't spent enough time really looking at the reality of what not making this change could mean for you?
Like, do you not want it badly enough?
Right.
Do you really want that goal?
Right.
Like I saw someone on Instagram like keep saying like, I want to quit coffee, and then she realized like, oh wait, I actually don't really want to do it. Like that's why I'm not doing it, guys, because like I don't want to. I keep trying to.
And I want to call out two things that I love the most about all of this. Number one is relapse. And as we say in tap world, just expect stuckness.
Mm-hmm.
Normalize stuckness.
Yeah.
Normalize that you're going to get stuck. And for people who are perfectionists, right, like that is so uncomfortable. And for many of us, it can be enough to have us just quit altogether. You know, we don't want to get stuck. We don't want to relapse. We don't want to fail. So we just don't do it at all. So just knowing that relapse or slipping or, you know, not following through 100% one week, like that is normal, and not even normal. That is expected. So expect relapse, expect stuckness. That's part of the process of changing. And number 2, I love the most, setting modest goals. So I'm just someone who if I'm setting a goal, I want it to be the goal. I want everything to be done this year, right? Like it's like now, big, big, big. And just knowing that that is part of what keeps, you know, me in a cycle of, you know, fail and repeat. It's just such good information. And it's moving into the uncomfort of starting modest, starting small, building one after another, you know, building the bridge one brick at a time, and not just trying to throw the bricks across and then walk, but really one at a time, building the foundation of the new person that you're becoming. And that starts with modest goals. So as uncomfortable as that is for someone like me, it's also just as important. So I love those two so much.
And the other thing I would just add, especially at this moment, you know, we're in early January. I'm sure we're all thinking about our New Year's resolutions. That's probably why you're here. You know, one of the things I would also offer is that I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves that a goal or a resolution needs to be major, right? We live in this age of media where everyone's raising millions and selling for billions or losing 100 pounds, or, you know, we live in this very, very false world where people are only sharing their successes and their highlights, not their whole truths. And so I think it's very easy to get stuck in the trap of being unrealistic about what is possible, but also not being true to what we really want. And so I see more and more and more what I call like trying to take on someone else's goals, right? When I talk to someone and I hear them, I think to myself, I don't think that's what you want. I think that's what you think you should do because everyone else is doing it, but it's not what you really want. And so I've had to think, as an example, long and hard this year about my own goals. And, you know, I'm very much oriented around setting goals, obviously. But, you know, one of my primary goals this year is to rest, is to actually enjoy the fruits of my labor, to acknowledge that you can't be harvesting all the time, that, you know, that you are planting sometimes and you're harvesting others, and that, you know, there's different seasons in life. And I'm so oriented around, you know, ambition and moving and growing. And if I'm not doing something big, then I'm not good enough. You know, that's my go-to, and it's dangerous. And so, you know, it's hard for me to actually not set some massive goal, like I'm going to launch new books and go on speaking tours and launch new businesses. You know, that's easier for me than it actually is to set a goal around rest and care and relationship. And, you know, I've got my theme is, you know, rest, relationship, and restoration, right? All these R words, which are counter. And so, you know, I also just really encourage you to rethink what it means to set a goal, and to rethink what it means to set a resolution, and actually disregard and tune out everything. I know that is so hard, and really get to the root of what you need, because that's what a resolution is, right? A resolution is to figure out how to get back into alignment with who you are and what you're uniquely meant and called to do. And so much of that is about releasing all the outside angst and just being true to yourself. It's so hard.
That's the most important, though, because like if you're trying to accomplish, and I've definitely done this in my life, like try to accomplish my mother's goals for me, or like what my friends want me to do, like I'm not going to actually put forth the energy needed to make that happen, because it's not what I want. Right. And then, but then you don't really get, if you don't take that moment to pause and reflect, like you're not going to be able to know, like you're going to beat yourself up about not doing the thing that you think you want to do when really, like, you don't want to do it.
Right. My therapist has me envision me as a dog. Actually, you know, when a dog like bites itself or it just got surgery or something, and it needs to have the cones like right around its face to just keep his or her head moving forward and focused on his or her lane ahead of him or her. That is like really what I keep coming back to. Anytime that because I so easily can get wrapped up in Instagram and like what other people are doing with their businesses or with their bodies or with their pregnancies. And it's like, I need to keep coming back to me as a dog with a comb around its head to remember to stay in my own lane, to create my own goals, to create my own dreams, to live my own life. It's so important.
Yeah. Easier said than done.
Yes.
But
easier
important.
said than done.
All right. So let's go to the next slide and let's just talk about this practically. What does a good plan look like, right? So if you wanted to get serious about changing your mindset from hopes, dreams, and wishes to an actual plan, how does that look? So this is our approach to that. Now, I'll just say that, I think that when I hear someone say something like, I want to make $1 million, or I want to lose 50 pounds, or I want to fall in love, right? Like all these, big words that we use, all these big statements.
Big words,
big statements. And then I actually asked them, okay, well, how are you going to do that? Crickets, right? What I say with love is, well, that sounds like a hope or a dream or a wish. That's not a goal. A goal says, I'm going to lose 50 pounds. Here's my plan for how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it by this day, right? A goal and a plan says, I want to meet someone. And so I'm going to go on this many dates. So I'm going to do this many things. I'm going to do all these things by this date to increase my chances of actually accomplishing that. And so what I think, when I think really practically about why a lot of New Year's resolutions don't work and goals don't get met is because they're not actually goals. They're hopes and they're wishes and they're dreams and they're beautiful. They're not wrong. Again, they're just incomplete. So this is what it takes to actually make a plan that has a chance of working. First of all, you start with your mindset, right? There's a real shift from being a victim of circumstance and really feeling stuck to being in charge and being ready and really clearly owning your values and making a commitment to the impact that you want to have in the world, right? Owning the privilege and responsibility of being a human being and stepping into your calling. Number one. Second, it's creating with such clarity and focus, what you are meant to do in the world, who you're meant to do it for, and the scale that you're meant to do it on. And to Michelle's example, disregarding everyone else's assumptions about what their life should look like and everyone's assumptions about what your life should look like.
Envision yourself as a dog.
Right? Put your cone on and really name it. That's the second piece. Then the third piece is where you start to envision your future. This is where you start to say, well, I want to lose the weight. I want to be in a happy relationship. I want to have a career I'm excited about. I want to raise. I want to do more impact work. I want to increase my style. I want to increase my spiritual practice. Whatever those goals may be, and you actually name them, right? You envision your future self in the change that you are wanting to accomplish.
Yeah, like what would that feel like to actually have that thing that you want?
And name it, right? I want it. And then you set goals, measurable goals, right? So if I want to lose weight, how many pounds? If I want to change my style, by what date and in what format? If I want to meditate, how often and by when, right? And so you actually set measurable goals that are aligned with, the priorities that you've named in your future self. And then you actually have to put that into action. And so once the plan is built, you actually have to implement it, right? And if you're creating a one-year plan, which is what we recommend, that's 365 days of doing the right behavior, over and over and over again in your efforts to hit those goals. Now, what most New Year's resolutions look like is something in the middle of envisioning your future, right? We make a statement. I want to lose weight. I want to fall in love. I want to grow my business. I want to da-da-da. That's an envisioning your future. But we haven't done the really hard work before it, the TAP mindset, the TAP statement. And then we don't take it as far as actually creating the measurable goals, building the deep action plan, and then very rarely do we have the day-to-day discipline and structure to actually every single day for 365 days do the work that's actually required to hit that goal. So that's why resolutions don't work. We're not doing the wrong thing, right? Envision your future. That's one of the pieces of the plan, but it's the third piece. And if we don't do this first and the second step, and then the third and the fourth step, it remains just that. It remains a resolution, a hope, a dream, a wish, but it's not a goal and it's probably not going to work. And so if you want to actually set those goals and hit them. If you want to collect wins, if you want resolutions that you can look back on and say, oh my gosh, I did that a year from now. It requires this deepness and this thoroughness. And so often we're not doing that. So often that's not at play.
Yeah, it's like changing just from a hope into a plan. Right. Like that is the difference. It's a hope. I hope I lose this weight. I hope I meet the person. I hope I change my job, to I'm changing my job. And this is how I'm doing it.
And I'm doing it by this date.
Yeah. With all of this support around me.
Yeah.
Totally.
All right, so this is just really quickly, we'll tell you guys what we've created together. We always talk, Michelle's growing a real baby, but the three of us also birthed a TAP baby.
So I theoretically have twins.
Yes. So, you guys, I'm guessing you can see the direct relationship between these pillars that we're going to outline and the pillars of behavior change, because it's very much on purpose. We literally built this based on behavior change science and creating a really comprehensive support structure that turns your hopes and your dreams and your wishes into realities. And plans. So first, when you have a TAP, you get TAP Center, and that's a totally custom built, cloud-based, mobile-friendly online tool. And this is where you build your plan with a really guided system, and then where you track your progress, where you rigorously track your behavior, where you track your progress towards your goals, where you step back and you pause and reflect, where you can access the community, where you can access training, where you can get help, everything that you need to essentially succeed, all in TAP Center. You get a TAP manager. Think about TAP managers like your accountability partners, people who are 100% focused all day long, every single day on your success. And they literally are your guide, your process partner, your accountability partner. They are watching your progress, sometimes, from the back end, literally using the data from inside of TAP Center to literally watch your progress on a day-to-day basis and reach out when you need a high five, reach out when you need a little tap to get you back on track, and really be there to hold you accountable. You actually do accountability calls every single month with the TAP managers. So much robust support around you. TAP School are weekly webinars and a huge number of resources that we've curated from the most amazing, wellness, health, spirituality, relationship, work, impact leaders of our time. We have asked for their time. They've given it to us, which is such an honor, and we're able to pass that on to you. And every single week, you can tune in to a live training event from some of these, iconic leaders of our time to learn about how to create the life that you really want and how to build these skills of behavior change. TAP World is where you can connect with other Tapsters. This is that community piece, right? Cultivate supportive, fun community and really, get access to sometimes fun offers and prizes. We're not below bribing you to try to help you do the right thing to hit your goals. And then lastly, you get a TAP coach. And TAP coaches are experienced, certified coaches, many of whom you may not even be able to get access to on your own, who have become certified in our TAP methodology and who work with you, who connect with you and coach you on either a weekly or monthly basis and either one-on-one or in a group, depending on your unique learning style and your needs. And so if you think about those pillars of behavior change, right, and you see them in these 5 pillars, these literally model everything that you need to build a robust accountability structure around you. And going back to that question, how do I actually hit my goals? Well, you build a really deep plan, and then you build a really deep level of accountability, resources, support, training, and structure around yourself that looks something like this.
Yeah. So good. So good. And with the TAP, and I'll quickly go, well, we can go through these together, the TAP mindset. But I just wanted to mention that with TAP, if you're interested in joining, you receive either a one-on-one coach that you work with directly, or you're in a group coaching program. That's totally up to you. So we can talk a little bit more about that, whatever works best for you. But here at TAP, we believe that to create behavior change, we need to start with your mindset. So Allie and I will go back and forth just with regards to what we believe as a company here at TAP.
Yeah. So number one, guys, it's a privilege to be alive, right? So there's huge opportunity when you're alive and thriving. And you guys being on this planet, specifically at this time when there's a massive amounts of change, massive amounts of freedom and opportunity that if you're watching this webinar are most likely lucky enough to be able to have, right? It's a privilege to have that freedom. And we believe here that we have a duty and a responsibility to use that freedom, that time, that effort that we've been lovingly given to create change on this planet. So that's number one.
Yeah. Number two, it doesn't matter how much you shift and change. A well-lived life is creating positive impact in the world, as well as making strides in your own personal growth. So it's not just, you're not changing your life just for you so that you get to be happy and fulfilled and thriving, but so that your family, so that your community, so that your state, your nation, your country, this world can also thrive. And that's really the bigger reason why, with TAP, we want to create that ripple effect. We want the world to change, to grow, to be fulfilled, not just you.
Number three, and this is so freeing when you really realize this, is that you're in charge of your life. So you're not a victim to your circumstance, right? You can really create the change that you want to see. And this is what we were saying before, like it's totally, totally possible. It's just you need to realize you're the person you've been waiting for. You're the one to actually make this change happen. And it's time and if you want to really get into this mindset and make this the year you win, like it's time to get really serious about doing the work to make that change.
Yeah. Number four, when you get stuck, get unstuck. And this is really my favorite. I really love this so much. So expect the stuckness. No, we have a normalized stuckness because everyone gets stuck. It's part of the process. The goal is not to be perfect and to never get into, stuckness or to have any relapse or to make any slips. That's not the goal. The goal is to have those relapses, have those slips, get into stuckness, and then pull yourself out and keep going with the support of the whole team behind you. Expect stuckness. I love it. I'm going to have it tattooed on my arm.
Totally. And last but not least, guys, it's not easy to grow, but it doesn't need to be complicated. As long as you are committed to growing and to creating change, get the resources that you need, get the training, get the accountability. And if you guys want that from us, we got you. If you want to find that elsewhere, you can make that happen too. Just know that we've been talking a lot about it's a process, and that can sound really disappointing to stuff because there's so many people out there teaching it can happen in a second, and like we're saying, it's not so easy, but it's not complicated.
I love that.
That's great. So as we go to the next slide, this is, we're nearing the end of our time together. So I just want to re-emphasize, if any of you guys have any questions or comments or thoughts or ideas or opinions, please throw them into chat. We're going to make sure that we're looking at it so that we can answer those. But just as we wait and see if you guys have any thoughts or comments, just a quick note, if you need to borrow our strength, if you need some structure and support, if you want to normalize this process of behavior change and get what you need to actually collect those wins this year, there is absolutely no pressure to sign up for TAP. Our intention is to get you what you need. And so if you want to talk to one of our TAP managers and explain where you're at in life and see if they think this makes sense for you, know that our commitment to you is, if we think this can help you, we'll get you signed up. If we think that you need something else or something else out there is better than us, for you and your specific reality, we are absolutely going to send you to what is best for you, because our mission is primarily to have a world where everyone is thriving and living their best lives. And we've created this so that for the people who need it, we can help and play a role. But we are not on a mission to sign you up unless it's the right fit for you and it really solves a need for you. So just really quickly, so you can see, there's 3 options. They range in price between $250 and $400. $250 is where you get to work with your TAP coach in a group once a month. $300 is monthly TAP, and that's where you get to work with your coach one-on-one once a month. And then Serious TAP is where you get to work with your coach one-on-one, but you actually talk every single week. And you'll see that every single program has TAP Center, TAP Manager, TAP School, and TAP World. You get full access. So the only difference is just how you talk to your coach one-on-one or in a group, and either weekly or monthly. And the price point, just a note on this, the price point is something we're actually really proud of. If you think about how much money most people spend on personal development over the course of a year, programs and books and boot camps and trainings and therapists and coaches and strategy sessions and, all the things. We're really confident that this price point to get everything all in one in a way that really works together is really a lot less than the average person is spending. And more than that, when we think about the robustness of what we've tried to create for you, the idea that you get every pillar of behavior change in one place, working together, coming around you in this really robust way. The feedback that we get is that the amount that people get in exchange for this price point kind of blows their mind. So just know that when I started Silver Lining, we used to charge $2,000 a month to barely cover our costs. And we've spent so much time and money trying to figure out how to automate, make more efficient, use technology to increase the value of what we offer, but to decrease the price point. And so I'll just say that I personally am really proud that we can give you as much as we're able to give you at this rate. So just so you know, those are the prices, super transparent. And we have a launch special because we're in the middle of launching.
Yay! So we are so honored and excited. To anyone who feels that this is something that they might want to move forward with, that this feels, like something that they see for 2018, $50 off any program. The code to use is VIP100. And yeah, that is our gift
$50
to you.
per month.
$50 per month.
So that's $600 a year that saves.
Yes, $50 per month. So $50 off of any one of these
And there's only
prices.
a few spots left, I think, right?
Yeah. So VIP 100, and if you're interested, just get in touch with one of our support staff. We're gonna include our email right below. We're happy to answer any questions you may have about TAP, about behavior change in general, about anything at all.
Yeah, and right now, if you guys are on the line and you have any questions, April, let us know if we answered your question. But if anything's coming up after hearing the mindset, the process, we're here to help you guys. You're welcome, Peter.
Yay, Peter, we love you so much.
We really want you guys to win this year.
Yeah. 2018. So remember, normalize stuckness. Remember all of the things that we, wrote out with regards to the different steps, starting with mindset, ending with getting into action, and everything in between, because it's not just creating dreams or creating visions or creating hopes, but it's creating plans that really creates change.
Yeah. And really, I would just want to end with, from my point of view, anything is possible. And so the solution to all of this is to not stop dreaming big and to not stop making resolutions and to not stop naming the life that you want to have. It's the opposite. It's to name all of those things and then to go get it, to get the structure and the support you need, to get to full clarity, to build the plan and to do it. And so what I would want to really encourage you with is the fact that I know for a fact, if people just build these plans and then they just do the work and then they just accept the structure and the support and the accountability that we wrap around you, I know for a fact that you can hit any goal you want, because I've seen it thousands of times over all these years I've been in business. And what humans are capable of and what is possible is so amazing and so inspiring. And so I challenge you, I really do, I challenge you, don't let yourself off the hook. Name those resolutions, but then go further than that. Build the plan, and then go further again and do the work, and then go further again and get the structure and the accountability and the support and everything that you need so that you actually do the plan, so that you actually get those results that you said you want. And it is possible. Don't let yourself off the hook. Don't do the same thing you've been doing that hasn't been working. Do it differently this year so that you win.
Yes. We love you guys.
Mwah! Good luck.
We believe in you. Go win 2018. Mwah!